Welcome to Off the Couch Podcast, where we support everything movement, fitness, and performance related. From work, exercise, hobbies, and everything in between. If it inspires you to get off the couch and get moving, we're all about it. So let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Couch Podcast. This is episode 10. We've got our co-host CJ with us here. Finally got him back. So I think it's our third or fourth one having you. So It's great to have you. For episode 10, we want to talk about something special that is near and dear to our hearts. And today we're going to discuss different training styles when it comes to exercise. Specifically, three different types: the individual training, group training, and personal training. And like the pros and cons of each one, the pitfalls, whatever you want to call it. Before we get into that, how's it going?
Good, man. Things are starting to wind down. Thank God. Kids are getting back to school.
Back to school.
It's been
back to school.
It's been not, I wouldn't say a long summer in terms of like the weather, but the kids been out of school for a while, so I've been like busy. It's been ridiculous.
We see a influx of members changing schedules when it's back to school time, where like our early morning classes get a little busier because parents or teachers need to get their stuff done before they have to get kids to school and stuff like that. I was just talking with one of our members. She's a supervisor at a high school, and she's starting school tomorrow. And I was like, tomorrow? I was like, that's Friday. And she's like, yeah, we're doing orientation for the freshmen, whatever. So like, hey, tomorrow, school's officially back in session. So exciting time, I think, for kids and parents. I'm not a parent yet, but there's, I think, pros and cons to each side there.
Yeah, the good thing about like them going back to school is it makes it easier to get back into a rhythm, a scheduled rhythm. Like we had zero rhythm, zero schedule that was sustainable over the summer. Like I was working crazy odd hours, and they wanted to play video games all day long. So the getting back to school helps it, like, okay, we get a couple hours away from the kids while they're in school, and I can like get some stuff done. So yeah, it makes it a little easier on the parents for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I feel that. Well, as far as the kid side of wanting to play video games all the time.
Dude, that's all they did all
like,
summer.
That's why we need parents, because if I didn't have adults in my life when I was a kid, that's probably all I would have done.
All I would do.
Yeah, they're like, hey, get off of that, go outside. And I was like, all right. So, I was forced, quote unquote, forced to play outside as a kid. And now now that I'm older, that was much more beneficial to me, I think, physically, mentally, and everything, to be playing outside than to be in on the TV playing games. However, nowadays you can make a career out of playing games, or even just streaming yourself playing video games. So, the old saying from, I remember my parents and like adults in my life when I was a kid, were like, it's gonna rot your brain. You're never gonna go anywhere playing video games. It's a waste of time, blah, blah. Well, actually, you could make a living off of it, and you could probably make a decent living if you do it right. But there's been benefits shown from video gaming as far as like you can gain like
hand-eye coordination,
and like response time, stuff like that. So there is positives to video gaming, but I think too much of anything is not good for you, including exercise.
The biggest thing, just to continue going off on this tangent real briefly, was like when we were kids, you had to, if you wanted to see your friends, you had to like get on the phone, call them, organize something, and then you would go meet at their house, or you would go somewhere. Well, with the internet, and now they're playing games online, it's like you can just talk to your friends while you play games with them. You don't have to go to their houses. You don't have to meet somewhere. You just are on the game with them, and you can chat and you talk. So you get that same sensation of being with your friends without being with your friends.
Which is so interesting to me, because we grew up in just a different. I guess I didn't really think about this because I don't have little ones, so it's not something I think about. But when I was a kid, like, to hang out with my friends.
You had to get on the bike, man.
Yeah, I would go get on my bike, or I'd skateboard, and I would go to their house and ring the doorbell and be like, oh, hey, like, is Brian home? Like, can they play? Or maybe they would answer. Or I remember one time specifically, I think my friend didn't feel like playing, and I think I might have been the annoying friend that was just always wanting to play with my friends. So like, I remember like I knew he was home and he didn't answer, and I was just like, oh man, what a punk. So like I guess that was like our generation of getting ghosted.
Yep.
But I remember like having to go doorbell or to the kid's house and like see if they were home, or ask their parents if they could come out and play. And I don't know, you have little ones, like, is that still how it works, or are they more on the internet like, hey,
Slas has like two friends in the neighborhood who come and knock on the door or ring the doorbell, almost like excessively though. Like it's cool every now and then, but like it gets excessive. Like there's times.
That was me.
There's times where they'll be waiting in front of our house, waiting for us to get home so they can come ring the doorbell. It's like, dude, it's a lot.
Yeah, they're just bored. That was me. I was just bored. I wasn't allowed to be in the house playing the video games, and they're like, go outside, and I had nobody to go outside with because my older brother was either doing something else or he's like, he didn't want to play. He was too cool for his younger brother, so he didn't want to play. So I'd just be like kind of chilling, waiting for a friend to become available.
Yep.
That's like, who's ready to play?
Yeah.
You guys want to play?
Who's ready to get into something?
It sounds like such a weird thing as an adult. You want to play? No, maybe?
Not at all.
What does play mean? Anyways, so yeah, it's kind of crazy to see the difference in things like that. But let's get back onto topic here.
Yeah.
So the reason why you guys are here, the meat and potatoes. We're going to discuss different training styles when it comes to exercise and the pitfalls, or I guess the pros and cons of each one.
Yeah.
And there's 3 main styles. And the main message we're trying to send here is whichever one you do, you want to find the one that works the best for you and that you can be consistent with, because consistency is the key to success when it comes to exercise. So not one of these is one size fits all. Not one of these is like you should do one rather than the other. Him and I probably have a personal preference of which one we like more, and I think it's probably the same one. But at the end of the day, the takeaway we want everyone to have here is let's evaluate the pros and cons of each one, and then decide which one works best for you, that you can be consistent with, and that you like the most. You need to like it.
Yeah, if you don't like it, it doesn't matter.
If you don't like it, you're not going to stick with it. It's not going to work. All right, so there's 3 training styles that most people do when they go to the gym. All right, we have our individual style training, our group training, and our personal training. Those are the 3 main ones, and we're going to kind of break down all of them. We'll start with the individual. All right, individual pros and cons. All right, let's start with cons of training individually.
Dude.
Which means training by yourself or like not with other people, I suppose. We see a lot of people do this. This is kind of your gym goer that maybe, you go to, your 24-hour Vasa, Lifetime, whatever.
Yeah.
You go on your own time. You figure out your own style of workouts. You're kind of just doing things on your own, individual, hence the name.
Yeah.
So what are some of the cons with training individually or by yourself?
Well, first con I can think of, for one, is you're coming up with your own workout program. Like, unless you are buying a program from somebody online, or you have a coach who's providing you with programming, you're like figuring it out on your own. And if you don't have a degree or a lot of experience in that area, you're just like winging it, which it's probably not the best way to do it in the long run. Is like winging it's not a good idea.
No, and like we hear that a lot, and I have experience. I think a lot of people that have done fitness a long time have dabbled in individual training. I know you've done it,
Yep.
I've done it, and what you talk about is absolutely true. Where what we see with a lot of individual training is there's a lack of direction when it comes to the program.
Yep.
Where it's like you either have your set days, or worst case scenario, you go into the gym not really with a set plan of like, I'm just going to go and see what I start doing. Maybe I'll do some curls, maybe I'll hop on the stair stepper for a little, and before you know it, you have great potential of ruining that session one way or another. Where it's like maybe you've done too much, or maybe you didn't do enough, or maybe you didn't get the right stimulus, or maybe you're working muscle groups over and over again. Just not having a program. So that's one of the detriments or cons we see to individual style training, is a lack of direction when it comes to the workouts.
Which in my opinion, like, you get a bunch of people who are always like the ones who haven't seen the gym in 10, 12 years. These are the ones who go into a gym, a Vasa, a Choose, a whatever, 24-hour fitness, and they go individually, and they're like, okay, I'm just gonna look around and see what everybody else is doing, I'm gonna do what they're doing. And again, you're just winging it, trying to figure it out on your own. That's the wrong type of idea to go into the gym with if you haven't been in the gym in a long time.
Absolutely. And another con of individual style training is like a lack of community, or a lack of, for the most part, a lack of Accountability. There you go. That's the word I'm looking. I can't talk today. A lack of accountability. So when you're training by yourself, there is that general lack of community. There's not really, you don't have a group that you typically are training with. And so, that's a part of it. Is it feels nice to belong to something, so you don't really have that when you're training by yourself. And the other one is accountability, which is very hard if you're training by yourself, to make yourself accountable. It's not impossible, it's just hard. Yes. So this is a con, because it's hard to self-motivate. It's not impossible. If you want it, you'll do it. But man, it's just so much easier when you have someone else, or a group of someone else, that's there to help you also be accountable. Where it's like, maybe I don't feel like going to the gym today, or maybe I don't feel like doing a certain workout or something, and I come in and
in the group training session or the person I'm with is like, nah, let's just do it. And you end up doing it and you feel better about it, rather than, I've done the individual side where I go into the gym and like things just aren't feeling great or whatever. So I end up like not doing what I had planned or
you just like get through the session.
Just get through it. And you end up,
it's like not a good session. You've almost, I want to say wasted your time, but like your mindset wasn't correct. You didn't give the right energy. It was just kind of you kind of slogged through the mud in that session and just kind of like got to the other end of it.
Yeah, and so, you end up kind of not knowing what to do in the gym, or I don't think going to the gym is necessarily a waste of time, but we can maximize our time, and you're not maximizing your
100%.
time when these things start to happen individually. And so, the biggest pitfalls we see with the individual style training is it's one of the easiest ones to fall out of, where we see people that train individually. It's, because of that general lack of accountability, lack of direction, there's a lot that goes into it where it's like, I don't want to think about my workouts or like whatever. You don't have someone that's kind of helping you stay motivated, where it's like, hey, where are you at? So, that one's the one that we see that's easiest to fall out of, where, people training individually, generally that has the lowest success rate when it comes to longevity, is just because, man, it's just hard to do things by yourself. Not saying it's impossible, it's just harder. And so those are some of the pitfalls we see with the individual style training, but it does have its benefits. What are some of the benefits we could see to individual training?
Well, for one, it's very individualized, very personal to you. It's the training that you want to do, the style you want to do. It's what's going to get you the most results. Well, at least the way that you see it is what you want to do. You're not doing anything else that anybody else wants to do.
Yeah, for the most part, when you're training individually, it's like you've decided the type of workouts you're going to do, the type of training you're going to do. Even if you are following a program, you've chosen that.
Yeah.
So it gives you the freedom to be the one that's making all the decisions when it comes to your exercise and maybe the types of physical goals you're trying to reach. You get to decide all that stuff. Some people like that. Some people don't know what to do with it. What I find is most people are like, I kind of don't know what to do with, like, I have a certain goal and I'm not 100% sure how to get there on my own. It's like, I want to get lean and strong, and like I'm just not really 100% sure how to do that. And so it can be a good thing if you're the type of person that's like, I like having control of that and I know what's best for me when it comes to exercise. That can be a very good thing as far as individual style training goes. Another good thing that we see with individual style training is schedule. Yeah, you get to make flexibility. Your schedule's flexible. You get to make your own. You don't have to make a certain class time. You don't have to meet up with anyone at a certain time. It's like you do it on your own time, which flexibility schedule-wise is one thing that will lead to consistency or success, because it's like, I know we're adults, we all live different style lives, and not every day is the same. And so the cool thing about training individually is, let's say something happened where I normally go to the gym at 5 p.m. Well, there was a wrench thrown in my day. Well, I can go at 7 or 8 p.m. or, earlier in the day, because it's just me. I don't have to accommodate anyone besides myself. And so I can go train that way whenever I choose to. Another pro that we see with individual style training when you're kind of doing it on your own is we find this one to be the most cost effective. It's generally the cheapest. Like when you're just training on your own, a general membership at a Vasa 24-hour Choose or whatever, is generally speaking the cheapest option.
It's like $25 a month.
Yeah, depending on where you go. It's usually the cheapest one. So you're paying your monthly fee or whatever, your membership dues are usually cheapest when you're training by yourself. So it's like you get flexibility of your schedule, it's most cost effective, and you get to decide the direction you're going to go. All right, the cons is, lack of community, lack of accountability, maybe lack of direction if we're not sure.
Coaching was one of those things that you definitely we didn't.
I meant to mention that too.
Yeah.
That's when you're training by yourself, there is a lack of instruction or coaching.
100%.
And so, if you're like, hey, my program calls for deadlifts. Maybe you chose a program that calls for deadlifts, and if you don't have a lot of experience deadlifting, this could be a very bad thing. Yeah. And so a big part of training by yourself is that lack of instruction or coaching.
And this is a big one for me on the kids training side too, right? I train kids all day, every day. I'll have parents tell me, hey, my kid, they have a membership to Vasa. Like, I don't want to send them to you because they can go to Vasa on their own and work out. It was like, do they know how to deadlift? Do they know how to bench press? Do they know how to do a clean? Just because they found it on, I can even give them the program that we do here in Mob or at Game Ready, but do they know how to execute those lifts appropriately and technically sound without hurting themselves. Deadlifting is one of those ones that like you can go really bad really fast if you don't know what you're doing. And if you leave a teenage boy to his own devices, he will go too heavy and he will round his back and he will hurt his back.
Wait,
So,
you're saying teenage boy has an ego?
absolutely not.
Yeah,
No
no
way.
ego. Yeah, no, trust me, I've been there. Where it's like, it's so helpful to have instruction. And I tell people, compound lifts, deadlifts, back squats stuff, they're the most power cleans, the most beneficial like lifts you could do, especially for a young athlete, when done correctly.
Yes.
There is an incorrect way to do everything, and especially these lifts, and when done incorrectly, they can actually be detrimental.
Yeah.
And that's usually what we'll see with individual training, is just a lack of coaching or direction, where one of two things happens. Either you avoid the movement because you've never done it, or maybe you're intimidated by the movement or the barbell or whatever it is. You're like, I don't want to look stupid in the gym in front of people trying to learn a movement that I'm not familiar with. Or we do the movement incorrectly, and then that's going to cause detriment as well. So that's another pitfall of individual training, is lack of coaching or lack of instruction.
Yep. Which to that point, like I just saw something online recently where it takes like 1,000 hours to learn something, like to really hammer a good habit in, and it's a movement habit, whatever, like if technique on a deadlift, or 1,000 reps, but it takes like 5,000 reps to correct poor movement, poor technique, bad habits.
Absolutely.
So it's like, it's better off just to learn it the right way the first time versus having to figure it out on your own and then having to be corrected 5,000 reps later, you know?
And I always tell my new people this, or I just tell people this in general. It comes up in weightlifting a lot. Weightlifting class, we focus on snatch and clean and jerk. And I tell people the exact same thing. I'm like, it's easier to learn a new habit than it is to unlearn a bad habit.
Yes.
And so when people are like, I'm new, I've never done this before, I'm like, perfect.
Yes.
I'm like, that's so perfect. I'd rather have that, because now we can start from scratch and we can build you up from the bottom up and make sure things are happening correctly as we learn. Whereas, we'll get people that come in that have been doing this for years, and maybe they've just developed a bad habit. And not necessarily like dangerous technique, but maybe just a bad habit.
Hit you at the contact point.
Yep.
Or,
And what I find is it is so much harder to unlearn this bad habit. Like, and I'm a perfect example of this with my weightlifting. I'm still trying to unlearn bad habits that I did in my early days of weightlifting when it comes to snatch and clean and jerk, that were just things that I inherently did that ended up being bad habits, and my body just knows how to do that. Like, I've spent thousands of reps trying to correct, but I find sometimes maybe when I get overly fatigued or it gets heavy enough that sometimes these bad habits will still kind of come out. Yeah, they sneak in there.
They sneak back in there.
And man, it's like I've spent so much time trying to correct it. So yeah, it is much easier to learn a new habit than unlearn a bad habit.
Those bad habits are like X's. They'll hit you up after midnight.
Yeah. They just keep
like,
coming
no,
back.
no.
They keep coming back. Like, they want you back.
Hey, you up?
Yep. What you doing?
Exactly. No, like I got good habits.
Leave me
now.
alone.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
They won't leave you alone.
They just can't respond.
They won't ever leave you alone. They just will stop bugging you as much.
Yes,
over
exactly.
time. But I'm still dealing with my exes or my
Bad
specific
habits.
bad habits. My wife's not gonna like that. Man, I keep saying stuff with him on the podcast about like pissing off the wives. I love you, boo.
He means bad habits.
Yeah, I
He
mean
doesn't
bad
exes.
habits.
No
My
one's dealing with their
bad
exes.
habits, not my exes. I don't have an issue with them. I wish them the best, whatever they're doing. Anyways, all right. So those are the pros and cons of individual style training. Let's talk the next one. We're going to go in the order of importance that I think, and so we're going to switch up that over there. We're going to talk about personal training. All right, so personal training is the next option that you might have when you're training in a gym or for fitness. Is I can do this on my own, or I can hire someone and do some personal training. So you're working with a fitness professional to help you get to your goals. Personal training, man, lots of pros, lots of cons to this. Let's talk about the cons. So the cons to personal training, the first one I could think of is this is 9 times out of 10, probably all the time, the most expensive one. It has the highest price point. You're paying a fitness professional, a coach, a trainer, whatever, for their time individually with you. That's why it's called personal training. So this usually becomes the most expensive, and what we see in our industry is generally you're going to be paying about $80 an hour-ish, or $80 a session. Usually it's by the hour, but it could be by the session. So you're paying about $80 a session. And if you're doing that 5 times a week, well, 8 times 5 is 45, I think, is that right? And that's $450 a week.
8 times 5 is 40.
40, okay, so $400 a week. And you're quickly going to realize that becomes very expensive. $400 in a week. $1,600 in a month,
Yeah.
it becomes
As a
very
mortgage payment.
expensive. So personal training is usually the most expensive way to go. So that's your number one detriment. Number two con that we can think of with personal training is schedule. Right, that's what we just talked about. You don't have the flexibility that you had with the individual style training anymore. Now it's like you have to coordinate with your fitness professional or your trainer when works for the both of you. When is their schedule open? When is your schedule open? And usually your personal trainer is going to have set times. They're going to send you like, hey, Tuesday I have noon, 2, and 5 p.m. And does one of those work for you? And if the answer is no, then it's like, all right, well, then maybe we just don't train that day with the personal trainer. So now it's like schedule becomes an issue with personal training.
It's the inconsistency.
Yeah, it's like you have to work with 2 people. So, you're kind of trying to coordinate the schedule with 2 different people, trying to get them to figure out a time that works for the both of you. So you no longer have that schedule flexibility. All right. Another con of personal training is the personal trainer. How are they certified? Like, why are they the ones personal training you? Why did you choose them? Are they actually capable of helping you get to your goals? And this is a great question. If you are personal training, you need to ask yourself this. Is the person I'm training with, this is a big one to me. If you're personal training, that person either needs to have the fitness results that you want or has had them in the past. Because if they don't,
Why are you using them?
like this is a big one for me. Like if you're trying to get lean, get stronger, maybe have a 6-pack and you're getting trained by somebody that's overweight, that relationship doesn't make sense to me. You're paying someone to help you do something that doesn't do it for themselves. And so the first communication there for me is like, if you can't do this for yourself, how are you going to do this for me?
Yeah, it shows like a lack of knowledge almost. Even if they have the knowledge, it conveys a lack of knowledge, a lack of expertise. This is one of the things actually when I was training for football back in the day. We had some interns who came in and trained. They were working with my trainer at the time, who was, I would name drop him. His name's Lauren Landau. He's a big name in the like traditional fitness industry. But I think he told the guys, he's like, hey, you need to look the part. You need to be able to at least do a couple perfect reps of everything that you're telling the guys to do, so they can actually believe in what you're telling them to do. If you don't look the part, they won't believe you, and they won't buy in. They're not going to execute it the way you want to execute it.
Yeah, and this is a con that we see with personal training, is like people training with trainers that don't know how to get their client the results they're looking for. They're just looking for that paycheck. And so that's a detriment or a con you have to look for at personal training. It's like, is my trainer actually able to get me the results I'm looking for? If my goal is to get a 6-pack, does my trainer have a 6-pack, or have they had one in the past? Have they done shows in the past or whatever? Like, do they have the experience it takes to know what it takes to get someone there? Or are they just telling you they could do it because they want your money?
Yep.
And that's something you need to evaluate. If your personal trainer isn't telling you hard truths to get you those results, they're not the trainer for you. Yeah. And you're paying high dollar for that person. So they need to be, I always tell people, I'm not the coach you want, I'm the coach you need. Your personal trainer needs to tell you what it takes to get the results you're looking for, not what you want to hear. Yeah. If what you want to hear is like, what I want to hear, and this is me personally, what I want to hear is, I only need to work out once a week, and I could have a 6-pack, be very strong, be very good at CrossFit. How do I do that? And if there was ever a trainer that's like, I think we could do that for you, get rid of them, fire that person immediately. And the trainer needs to be honest with you. It's like, well, you're going to need to work out 5 days a week. We're going to need to like work on your nutrition. We're going to need to work on that intensity. And like, they're going to tell you things that are like, damn, that all sounds really hard.
Yep, and it's supposed to be. Like nothing that is worth getting should come easy.
That's right. And I always tell people, the goal of working with a coach or a personal trainer or whatever is like, when I do it, it's like, my job is to get you to do things that you wouldn't do on your own. Your trainer's job is to get you to do things that you wouldn't do on your own. Otherwise, why are you paying them? If you would just do it on your own, there's no point in you paying that person. If you're paying for an accountability partner, you could pay me half the price and I'll just come and sit with you and talk to you, for free. Or not for free, but
for half the price.
For half the price. And we'll just hang out, because that's what you're paying that person for at that point. If they're not like getting you those results, you're just paying them to hang out with you. Maybe that's what you like, but we're trying to maximize results in the gym. So, you need to make sure your trainer's certified in whatever it is, or has the experience in whatever it is to get you the results you're looking for. Whether it's, get a 6-pack, run a marathon, do a powerlifting meet, I don't know. They just need to know how to get you those results. And also they need to explain to you how they know that. Like, hey, I want to be good at CrossFit. How do you know how to make me good at CrossFit? Like, well, I've been doing this for 13 years. I have a competition history. I clearly look the part. I know how to move well. Like, I think I can help you out a lot. So that's another con to personal training. It's like, the trainer that we have maybe isn't the most experienced or isn't getting us the right way. But let's look at some pros of personal training. So like, what is the good things about personal training? It does have some really good ones. Number one that I always tell people is I personally believe personal training, when you're with the right trainer or coach, is the fastest way to get results for you. It's the fastest. Why?
Well, it goes back to the individualized trainer. We can, everything's personal to you and your goals. We're going to write programming that's going to fit your needs. It's not going to be general. It's not going to be recycled. It's going to be something that fits your needs, exactly what you want out of this.
Yeah, so you're going to get a program from your training professional. We've established that this is the professional that can help you, from your training professional that is specific to you. So this is going to help you get the best results faster, which is like, let's say we have an athlete like CJ, overall just an amazing athlete. I'm just using him as an example. Very strong. Areas he might be able to work on is maybe like endurance, muscular endurance. I don't really know.
Overhead strength.
Overhead strength. So knowing this as a personal trainer, you start to work with them a little bit, or you just know them as a person. Now we can cater the programming accordingly to what he's trying to get better at. So it's not just, I don't have to think about doing this for 15 people. We do it just for CJ, and it's perfect because now it's catered just to him to help get him the results he's looking for the fastest. So now this is CJ's program. This is not some general program you're getting from off the internet. This is now CJ's program. And the cool thing about that is like it is just for you. And it should be written in a way that's going to get you results the fastest. So typically with personal training, it's going to get you results the quickest because it's catered to you. Another cool thing about personal training is there's a level of accountability, which helps people with being consistent.
Yeah. If I'm relying on you, well, if you're paying for personal training, for one, you should definitely feel like, hey, I have to show. I can't no-show my personal trainer for one.
Paying top dollar.
The biggest thing on this sidebar, on this part, the biggest thing I had problems with in the past is people like last minute cancellations. And I'm not good at this, like, hey, you're gonna pay me no matter what thing. But like, usually people are paying for personal training, there's a cancellation policy. So like once you're committed to going, within 24 hours, you're going to that session.
Yeah.
You're going to that session.
I want to touch on this too, because I do personal training, and CJ and I are nice, or maybe from the business standpoint, stupid, where you should charge a penalty fee or a cancellation fee for people not showing up. Just because, think about it from a professional standpoint. This is a professional. They're taking time out of their day. We've scheduled this, so I haven't scheduled anything else. You cancel on me last minute, and now I don't get to do another session in that time. And this is essentially just taking money out of my pocket. So for me to not charge you anything for that is very nice. And I hope people would recognize that. If your personal trainer doesn't charge you for cancellations, like last minute cancellations, you should like praise the ground that they walk on because they're doing you a big favor. But in reality, from a business standpoint, they should be charging you a cancellation fee because it's unfair to them as a professional to just cancel last minute. But, that's me on the soapbox. But back to the accountability. Having the personal trainer helps with the accountability 100%. Because usually your personal trainer, you have it on the schedule. It's like, hey, we're meeting tomorrow at noon. And usually I've gotten in the habit of personal training, confirm with your client like 24 hours before, like, hey, I'll see you tomorrow at noon. And then it helps that accountability because you have your trainer, texting you or messaging you. And then you're like, oh crap, tomorrow, like they're counting on me to be there. So it's that accountability, like you're going to be there because it's not just you anymore. You can't just cancel on yourself. You're going to be canceling on your personal trainer. So it helps with that level of accountability. So personal training is the best way to get the results for you fastest if you know exactly where you want to go with your fitness, and it has a level of accountability with your personal trainer. So it's like we have that accountability, we have those results coming in, hopefully fast. And I think one of the other pros of this is, relationships. I think relationships are a big way.
They go a long way.
Yeah, to help build success. And so it's like you start to build a relationship with your personal trainer, which will overall help with the success of your program.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, I think that's like a big one for me. I'm a big relationships guy. I think everybody I personal train, just about everybody I personal train, has like really become a friend of mine too, for the most part. Like you spend some time, you get to know these people deeply. They tell you a lot of things, a lot of personal information, a lot of private stuff, because you're chatting over the course of an hour, or multiple hours, whatever it is, and you really get to know that person. So you get to know, for one, like as a trainer, I get to find out what motivates you, what really gets you going, what's going to get you to get that extra rep, what's going to get you to go a little bit harder at the end of that workout that I programmed for you. But also, like, you invite me to your wedding, you invite me to hang out to a barbecue. Like, these things are important, and what we're doing in here is more than just the results piece. So that's very important. It's also our relationships as well.
Yep, and that's a big one with personal training, like that we don't see as much with any other style, like group training too, is you do have more time with the client to develop that relationship, where it does become a lot more personal, hence the name personal training. So you do get to know them, and like you become friends for the most part. And there's probably that love-hate relationship, they love you and they hate you at the same time. That's how any good personal training relationship should be, is it's very hard, so you don't really love that part, but you love the results and you love the person. So you start to develop this relationship, and it's kind of cool, there's this bond, and before you know it, you get some life experiences out of it that maybe you didn't have before. And so that's a really cool thing about personal training. So those are like most of the pros and cons when it comes to personal training. Let's segue to the next style of training, which is our last one. So these are the three main styles of training that we're going to address when it comes to fitness and being successful, the pros and cons. And the last one is group training, which is
what
we do here for the most part. Like TJ and I do personal training, and we also do group training. We also have people that kind of do their own thing, so individual training here, but we mostly do group training here at our gym. And so we'll start with some of the cons of group training. All right, so con number one is typically the price. It's not the cheapest. It's not as expensive as personal training, but it's also usually not as cheap as if you were doing this on your own. Because you're usually paying to do it with other people, and you're paying to have an instructor. Group training. So it's price. It's not the cheapest. So that could be a con, is maybe it's not your cheapest option or most financially efficient option to go with. All right. Number two option is, in certain styles of group training, there can be a lack of individualization when it comes to the programming or the workout or whatever it is that you're doing, where it's kind of like it's this one size fits all. And with certain training styles, I think that will work, and with other ones, maybe not so much.
I think with ours, obviously, it works because of the style of training we do, CrossFit training. It's all, you can scale it and modify it in a million different ways and still get the same slimness out of it. But yeah, in our unique style, I think it's a great version of group training.
Yeah, and so I think with what we do, the way we group train is really good, but not every gym is like that. Not every CrossFit gym is like that.
Correct.
Not every group training is like that. Correct. So there's Orange Theory, F45, Zumba, yoga. These are all like group training styles. And so one of the cons that we see is like maybe it's not catered towards the results you're looking for. If I'm trying to get very lean, strong, and somewhat muscular, like yoga's probably not my best option for that. And so if I'm doing yoga just following that general template for everyone else, chances are I'm not going to end up with the exact results I was looking for. Similarly, if you're trying to run a marathon and all you do is like CrossFit, I think this is a great style of training for that, but it's not specific to running a marathon. Yes. It's like, there's nothing that's going to substitute getting your body used to running for 2 to 3 to 4 hours at a time. Yeah, you'll be fit here doing this, but you need to also train a little bit for that so you can get used to running that. So when it comes to group training, it's not as individualized. The program is more encompassing of the group rather than just yourself. So that's a detriment that we can see when it comes to group training. Another one is schedule freedom, which is what we talked about with personal training, is you don't have the freedom of your schedule. Typically with group training, it comes in classes. These
are our class times. You've got to get with it or get lost, brother.
Yeah, these are the class times. If you can make it, great. If you can't make it, this is all we offer.
Yeah.
So this is good and bad for us as coaches. I hate it because there are some people that certain schedules can't accommodate, and I talk to them about their work schedule, and it's like, yeah, it makes sense, and I feel bad because I'm like, man, I'd love to accommodate you, but these are our class times. This is what it is. So that's a con of group training. Is like, can you make the schedule? If you can't make the 5 a.m. class, maybe that's your only option, and you just can't group train that day, or maybe at that location they don't offer a time that works for you. Yeah. So that's another detriment we can see with group training is schedule. It doesn't really work out too well for me. Do you have another class time that works? No. okay, I have to go somewhere else or figure something else out.
Yeah, and that happens.
It does happen, and I hate to see it happen. But it's also hard if somebody's like, hey, the only time I could train is 2 p.m. Can you offer a class? And we've tried this in the past, and we end up adding it, and then like nobody shows up, and sometimes even that person doesn't show up.
Yeah.
So then it's like, your trainer's here ready to coach a group, and nobody shows up, or maybe one person, which is fine. But if it's constantly one person, you're essentially getting personal training for
group
training price, which is like, hey, as a consumer, you're doing a great job.
Awesome.
Yeah, you did a great job. As the fitness professional, you're getting the short end of that stick.
Yeah.
So that could be a con when it comes to group training. I'm trying to think of some other cons.
The other cons are, it's not personalized, right?
Yeah.
If your goal is to get better overhead strength, like, what if we're not in the overhead strength cycle right now? Like, what if we're focusing on lower body strength? You just will have to wait a little longer to get those results that you're looking for on the overhead strength portion. Obviously, our version of group training is constantly varied. It's very balanced for the most part, right? But not everyone's going to be that same way, right? If you go to Orange Theory and you want to get, want to be able to squat 300 pounds, that's not in their group training methodology.
They don't barbell back squat.
You're going to get good at running on a treadmill, though. Like, you're going to get really good at that.
And like rowing.
Yeah, you're going to get at those things. But
some like calisthenic body movements,
But you may not get those big, strong legs you're looking for. You may not get that aesthetic you're looking for.
Yeah, you might not get as lean as you'd like, because usually what we see to get lean is it has to involve external loading, like moving weight, whatever that happens to be. So group training, I feel like, is a hard topic for us to talk about the cons, because this is what we do.
Biased.
Yeah, because it's like, now I'm like trying to sell you on why you shouldn't come to our gym. But it does have its cons, and that's what we're getting at. Not every style is perfect. But let's talk about the pros of group training. Right? Pro could be the price. It's not as expensive as personal training, so that could be a pro, but maybe not. I think the biggest pro of group training that I find is community. Man, that's like, to me, the main reason why I started to fall in love with group style training, or CrossFit specifically, is this community of like-minded people that are so different outside of the walls of your facility. But when we all come in here, we all have this similar mindset and goal where we can forget our differences and just focus on our similarities. That's like, we're all here to just try to better ourselves in one way or another.
We're all moving the same direction. And as a former athlete too, this is a big one for me. Like, I remember the environment of a max out day in college football. Absolutely incredible. But you had, again, people from different backgrounds. You had guys from the country, guys from the city, guys from good neighborhoods, bad neighborhoods, rich parents, poor parents. Like, everybody, we're all moving the same direction, trying to get better. Dude, it's an amazing atmosphere, and you can't replicate those atmospheres.
It's so intoxicating. And if you've ever seen videos or experienced it yourself, like, it's so moving how these people are surrounded, or surrounding this person and just trying to lift them up in support of just like, we want to see you do this, like, and they're screaming, and they're just, and if you do it, they're all so happy.
It's so
like,
excited for you.
Yeah, it's like, man, it's just that feeling, and like, as a coach, that feeling is amazing when you see someone do something that maybe they didn't think they were capable of, or whatever, and like the smile on their face, like, man, that's why I do what we
awesome.
do.
It's 100%
and
awesome.
like, so you get that in group training, you get that from your coaches, you get it from your peers too. They're cheering you on at the end of a workout if you're finishing, or if you're trying to lift a heavy weight, and you're not sure, they're over here like clapping for you, like telling you, like, let's do this, like trying to pump you up. So you get that sense of community of like-minded people trying to go to a similar place. And depending on your style of group training will depend on the place you're going to end up. The cool thing about CrossFit is our goal is to just end up being fit.
Yes.
So the fittest version of you. And what do we define as fitness? Well, there's 10 general physical skills, but they include things like endurance, strength, power, speed, accuracy, agility, like coordination, balance. So you're going to work on all that, and so that's why I think when it comes to group style training, CrossFit's one of the best ways to go, is because we're just trying to get you overall fit and healthy, and you're going to have a little bit of lean muscle on you, and you're going to look good. You're going to be able to perform well. You're going to be functional when it comes to exercise. You're going to be able to go run a 5K at the drop of a hat, which I could do, you could do, no problem. Sub 22 for sure, probably faster than that. And you'll also be able, if you wanted to, you could do powerlifting meet, so could I. and I could do a weightlifting meet, or I could go do a Ragnar, or I could do a Spartan race. We're just, the goal of what we do in here is to just be overall trained in all realms of fitness. So the cool thing about CrossFit is if it's functional, we will do it. And what that functional means is, like, we're not isolating certain muscle groups, like doing bicep curls. We don't consider that functional. We do pull-ups or rows because those are more functional and they work the biceps.
Compound movements.
Yep. So group training, in my opinion, the biggest bang for its buck is the community. But then the next really good thing about it is, usually with all styles of group training, there's an instructor. There is somebody there to help you along the way, to learn how to do things. Depending on what you're doing, Orange Theory, learn how to row, learn how to run on your treadmill, learn how to do your calisthenics. I've been to Orange Theory. My personal experience, there wasn't a lot of like personal coaching. It was more just kind of like yelling at everyone, just telling them to switch and stuff, but there's a level of that. The cool thing about what we do is you kind of get the best bang for your buck with functional style fitness or CrossFit style fitness, because you're almost getting personal training at the price of group training.
I frequently will describe what we do in here as group personal training. Like you get that bang, especially if you come to the same classes with the same instructors. Like I know so much about certain people's overhead squat mobility that like I'm coaching the heck out of it. Before we even get to it, I'm coming over to that person. I'm giving them those cues that I know that they need before we get that bar overhead. I'm talking to them about it way ahead of time. So like if you come to the same classes over and over and over again with the same instructors, like we know you almost better than you know you from a movement standpoint. But you're paying for your group training, not personal training. So you're saving a substantial amount of money, and you're getting the coaching that you would get from me in a personal training session.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, what we do here is, our goal is to teach people how to move well, correctly, safely, consistently. Yeah, that's
you said it right.
Okay. And so, you're getting that. You get that from your personal trainers, but now you're getting that from a group session as well, which is just a huge bang for its buck. Now, granted, you're not getting as much as if it was personal session. If I have 10 people in class, I'm not going to be able to spend an hour with CJ just looking at him the whole time, but he gets my time to where I can at least give him real-time feedback, technique feedback, and we can try to correct things. And we do that every class with everyone. So it's like, now, okay, you're getting a great bang for your buck. You're learning how to do things correctly and safely. You're just not getting as much personal time with the trainer as you would if you personal train. But you're paying a little less, so that seems to make a little bit of sense to me. So, group style training, usually we have an instructor that's going to help instruct us or teach us how to do whatever it is that we're doing. What I find with the functional fitness, or at least CrossFit in general, is the coaching is just much higher. The instruction is much higher and individualized than when you go to other places. Like I've done Turbo Kick before, or like a Zumba class. My sister used to teach those, and there's not any individual instruction. It's just, you're just trying to follow the person in front or the people in front of you. They're not really coming over and like helping
adjusting,
you. Be like, hey, here's how you need to move, and here's how you need to do this movement and stuff. So that could be a detriment to other group fitness styles, is you're not getting that. But at functional fitness, or at least here at CrossFit, at our CrossFit gym, we will come to you individually and talk to you about your movement and your technique, whether it's correction, whether it's advice, or whether it's just reinforcement. That's like, hey, you're moving great. Keep that up.
To speak to that point too, I coached boot camp at a yoga studio a long time ago. And I had many of the clients there were of the same, like they were of the boot camp, big group classes, not CrossFit style classes experience. So when I was coming around fixing technique and fixing squats, they were like, dude.
They're like, what are you doing?
No one's ever told me I was squatting improperly before. I've been squatting with my knees way forward and getting my hips way forward for like 10 years now. No one's ever fixed that for me before. So it was such a different thing for them because they weren't used to actually being corrected. They were just being told to squat more, squat faster, do more reps, that they were like almost mind blown at the idea of like me fixing their form.
Well, and this could be another con of group training is you need to find a group trainer that is passionate about whatever it is they're teaching. If that trainer or that coach doesn't have passion, you are not going to be getting the results or the coaching that you need because they're not passionate about it. Maybe they're just there for a paycheck. Maybe they're just there to get it out of the way. And it sounds like, I've experienced that with, group training, that the trainer just, no matter who's in class, they always have like the same routine of how they coach class. And so it doesn't matter if there's a new person they need help. It's like, oh, they'll figure it out on their own. That it could be very detrimental to new people, especially if you start to move or move weights. That could be very detrimental. So you need to make sure that your instructor has passion about, and they believe in what they do. And this is another big one for me. If you are doing group style training or personal training, working with a fitness professional, they need to do whatever it is they're asking you to do.
Yeah.
Like if you go to CrossFit and your CrossFit coach doesn't train CrossFit as their main method of CrossFit or training, why am I going to take advice from somebody telling me, hey, this is a great way to get you in shape and get you fit, but I don't do it myself?
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make any sense.
Are you too good for this?
Yeah, or like, you know, this is a whole like rabbit hole we could go down of like, oh, your CrossFit trainer doesn't do the programming for class. Anyways, but
you got to drink the Kool-Aid.
You have to. There has to be a level of buy-in from your instructor or your coach. You know, if they're getting you to do Zumba as health, that needs to be their primary method of training, or yoga or whatever. Like this is what I do 5 days a week, and it's gotten me these results, and I'm confident we can get you similar results. And if that's not your trainer or your coach, it's going to end up being worse for you as the consumer in the long run, because then that's when you get the types of people that, you know, they've had people in class for months, if not years, and they just let the bad technique happen. Or maybe they don't know how to coach good technique, but, you know, it's always a nightmare, and it's a nightmare of mine as a trainer and a coach to have someone that's been with us for a long period of time that just doesn't move well. Yeah. And so our goal is to get them to move well, because it's a bad example for me. If I send someone off here, maybe they moved out of town or something, or they're just visiting somewhere out of town, and they're like, oh, I've been doing CrossFit for 3 years at CrossFit MOB, and they move like crap, that trainer or whoever is going to be like, they're not teaching you well over there. And so that's just bad marketing on my part. And I don't want that reputation. So it's like, you know, that's another motivator. It's like, I'm passionate about my job and about fitness and about helping people. That's like, we want to make sure we're trying to get you to move better.
To speak to that same point on the game ready side, I've actually been like quizzing some of the kids over the summer on, hey, take me through a setup for a squat. Set up for a squat. How would you set up for a squat? So when you leave here, and I have one kid who's a college athlete, when you leave here and you go back to college, can you teach your teammates how to squat? Can you teach them how to bench press? Can you teach them how to do cleans? Like, walk me through the setup and the execution of it, because if you leave here and you can't do that, I didn't do my job.
Absolutely, and I'm a big advocate of that too, and I tell my athletes, CrossFit, personal training, weightlifters, that's like, once you've done something long enough, you should learn, like, know how to coach it, because you've done it so many, you've heard it so many, you've heard the cues so many times. You know, you'll hear the same cues for air squats over and over again, and it can be coached different ways, but usually the cues are very similar. That's like, hey, let's have our stance outside of our hips. Flat feet, you're going to send your hips back then down. Hip crease gets below the knees. Drive the knees out, stand up. So you're like, there's like certain cues, keep your chest like that you should hear that are common. And so if you've been doing a movement long enough, you should be comfortable teaching someone else how to do it. Yes. And that's when you know you're doing it correctly. And so that's just why we want to find those people that are passionate about that. It's like, you know, CJ is passionate about fitness. And so he's like, I want to share this passion with my athletes or whatever. And so that way they can go share it with someone else. Yes. And it becomes like a virus.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh man, I think fitness is one of the things that I pray spreads like a virus in a good way like that, where it's like, you know, we're just teaching people and they go teach other people. And it's this chain reaction of just people teaching people how to do stuff safely and correctly. Like, that's the goal, because, you know, just to kind of go off on a little tangent here, that's the experience I had. And I don't know, I didn't play sports at the collegiate level, but high school level was, you know, weight room there was such a lack of direction. Like, coaches would not coach you on movement. Dude. They would just be like, do power cleans, cool. Do back squats, cool. Do deadlifts, cool. And it didn't matter how you did it. There was, like, in my experience, almost no coaching on how to do it. I just had to watch my peers and try to mimic whatever they did, whether they were doing it right or not.
That is 100% correct. I played football at a high level for a long time. I played in college, and I never once remember, and this isn't to slight anybody by any means, but I don't ever remember being like, hey, this is how you squat. You put the bar on your back, you set your feet up right here, you go back and down. Like, I had a lifting class in high school, and my teacher taught me a little bit of that stuff, but I never had a coach or a strength trainer break down how to do a clean, how to do a snatch. We snatched in college too. Never had anybody do that. And maybe because I went to a smaller school, but like, I was never taught how to do it properly. It was do what the older guys are doing, just replicate what they're doing. So we had guys catching cleans in the starfish, like We had a guy get sat down in a starfish before.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I'm lucky he didn't tear his groin.
Yeah.
Like you just see these things happen and you just think it's normal. And like what you do in the weight room is so incredibly dangerous if not done correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be the best thing or the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And you know, we see this all the time. You know, a testament. People come in here that have been high-level college athletes, and like they don't move well. And all this is just a lack of coaching and direction. And so that, you know, that could be a detriment to group style training, is maybe you're just not getting the direction or coaching that you need. And if that's the case, my advice to you, if you're doing that group style training, is go find something where they will actually teach you how to do stuff the right way.
Find a new group or find a new person.
Not only is it about the passion, but it's about safety at that point. Like if you're not moving safely, you're not gonna be able to do it for terribly long, because it's just, bad movement is a recipe over a long enough period of time for
Disaster.
disaster, injury, ailment, whatever you want to call it. And so, you know, find that group style training where they're passionate and they care about you being better and moving correctly. So those are like the 3 styles of training that we wanted to talk about. They're actually like the main ones. I can't actually think of another style of fitness training, like partner training, but that's a form of group training. It's just you and
Small group,
a small group training. You know, there are pros and cons to that. But you know, individual training, most cost effective. You get to make your own program. You get to decide what's happening, schedule all that stuff. You know, the cons, hard to find that motivation, hard to find direction. Maybe you're not getting coaching or direction of what you're doing. Personal training, most expensive. You have to work on someone else's schedule. But if you're working with the right person, it could be individualized for you to get the fastest way to get results. And you're getting that, you should be getting that movement coaching of helping you move correctly and safely. And an understanding of like why you have more time in personal training to explain why you're doing things to that client. Like, here's why we're going to do this and stuff. Group training, group style training, my personal favorite. That's what we do. There are multiple ways to do this, but I believe the way we do it here in CrossFit, and especially at CrossFit Mob, is one of the best ways to do it ever.
We're not biased at all.
Yeah, we're not biased. This is the only way to work out.
This is the only way to work out, as far as I'm concerned.
You know, it's middle tier cost, whatever you think that is. You know, hard schedule. Maybe it doesn't work with your schedule, but man, the pros to me outweigh the cons by far, and it's my favorite way to train. And let's talk about, I've done all 3 of these, and it's my personal favorite. Man, I just can't tell you the sense I get from being a part of the community of like-minded people, and just how cool it is. We talked about this earlier, how cool it is that we're all so different outside the gym, but when we come in here, you know, we all share this common goal, and we can share this thing in common and forget about our differences and just really focus on why we're similar and, like, you know, this community and like why we appreciate each other. And that's really cool to me.
There's so many days where I will make sure I make the class, because doing the workout by myself is just not a good idea. Like I have the skill. I don't necessarily always need the coaching either. It's not like a complicated workout. Like yesterday was assault bike, GHDs, and back squats. Like I didn't need the coaching on that, but I needed the group yesterday. Like I needed the group's energy. I needed the group's vibe. I needed all of that so I can push through. Because I could do it by myself, and I probably would have been just fine. But like from a endorphin standpoint, I felt the best doing it with the group.
Yeah, and like this is something we see all the time. Is another pro of group training is being able to maybe push a little bit harder in that group, because it's easier to find that motivation through the group than just yourself. So usually, and I'm a tester, I will tell you personally, I usually get a better workout when I'm in a group setting, CrossFit style, than if I'm by myself. Because
one pushes hard.
Yeah, and it's that old saying, like, what are you doing when no one's watching? And you know, that's the strongest mindset, is to be that person that's like, your intensity is just as high when you're by yourself than when you're in a group. And actually, I don't know if that's ever really 100% the case, because if you think about all the world records that are broken in sports and fitness, like,
they're never broken by yourself.
They're never broken by yourself. It is a group setting, because usually there's a crowd, you're drawing energy from the crowd, there's your peers, there's a team, like whatever. And so it's usually this group setting that brings out the best in people. And personally, my main style of training is group style training. I love taking class, man, it's my favorite. I just love it. I love having a coach. I love the people next to me. I love being motivated by them. Maybe there's someone in class that's a similar fitness level that can help push me a little bit harder. Man, I just love everything about group training, or at least the CrossFit style group training, I love. Is group training your main method of training?
It's my main methodology. Like I used to, when I was more competitive, I would train solo frequently. But whenever I can, I will make sure I can get into the class. I will make sure I can get into the class. Like I will do workouts on my own if I have to, if my schedule doesn't fit it. But again, I won't push as hard. I'll get through for the most part, and I'll still stay nice and fit. But if I have to pick a version that I like the best, it's group all day.
Me too. And I've done all three. I've done personal training. Last personal trainer I worked with, it was very hard. It was good. It was very good. But it wasn't exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that's why I didn't end up sticking with it. It's like group training is exactly what I'm looking for. And so I think the takeaway that we're trying to tell everyone here is our goal and my goal, I'm passionate about health and fitness, is like I want you to find the version of exercise that works for you, that gives you the results you're looking for, and that you can be the most consistent with, that you like. And so whether that's individual style, cool, nothing wrong with that. Nobody's gonna hate on that. Like if you're consistent, you get the results you want, awesome. If you're doing or personal training and that works for you and you got the freaking bankroll for that, cool, that's awesome. I support that. You're getting results, you're getting more fit. If it's group style training, even better, I'm biased. That's majority of what I coach. Whatever works for you that you can be consistent, that you can do on a regular basis. We want to get you up once you get to that point, probably about 5 days a week, and you actually have a level of enjoyment. Like you need to enjoy the training style you do. That doesn't mean easy.
Yeah.
It just means like there needs to be a level of enjoyment.
It actually shouldn't be easy.
It's one of the cool things about groups is like, you know, when a workout's not easy, we can talk either before or after about like, oh man, dude, the set of 40 wall balls, like, you gonna do that unbroken? Like, I don't know. Like, he's joking about it, and you know, it becomes that cool bond. But then also, you know, CJ's in class, I'm in class. I see he's not setting the wall ball down. I was like,
I ain't putting it down.
I ain't putting it down either. Yeah. And so it ends up just helping me overall fitness wise. So I love the group style training, but hey, find what works for you. Yeah. And just know we offer personal training and group style training here. The individual one, not so much. We don't really do too much open gym stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, wherever you're at, here's my advice to you fitness wise is, besides, well, even the individual one, they should always offer a free trial. Even personal training, my first session's free. I think anyone's first session should be free, so you can get an understanding of what it's going to look like and decide if this is for you. You should never have to commit before you test drive something, for the most part. Right? That's why they do that with cars and stuff. So it's like, go try a personal training session, go try a group class session, and you know, see if you like it, see if it's for you. We offer a 3-day trial here at CrossFit MOB. Come try us out for free for 3 days and see if you like it. And you know, we do 3 days because the workout's different every day and there's different groups of people.
Yeah, you can get a different feel for it.
Let's see if you're a good part of the community or if that's what you like. But long story short, it's like, man, let's just get you to find something that you genuinely enjoy that works for you. Yeah. And if it's one of these styles of training, well, these are probably the only 3 you're really going to find, unless it's team training. We didn't talk about that, but that's like if you're playing a sport, that's different.
Yeah, that's very specific, yeah.
You know,
which is still a version of group training.
As long as it's one of these, cool. Like our main goal is like, let's get fit. Let's get off the couch and let's try to better ourselves no matter what it is. And if you guys want a free trial here, hit us up, CrossFit MOB, Thornton, Colorado. You can hit us up on Instagram at CrossFit MOB.
The Fache book.
Yep. Book a free trial with us. If you like what you're hearing, you guys can like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If you leave us good reviews, we haven't really got that many, so leave us good reviews. We appreciate that. But we're going to end there. We don't like to keep these long, I always say. We don't do 3-hour podcasts like Joe Rogan, which I like some of his stuff, but it's a commitment. You guys don't need to commit too much to us, just a little bit. We need you to save time to go work out. Yeah. So with that being said, CJ, great talking to you, brother. And let's get out there and find what training style you like the most.
Get off the couch.
Until next time, we'll see y'all later.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Off the Couch Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, let's try to find something that inspires us to get off the couch.